AITAH for refusing to consider stopping our divorce after my ex admitted her psychic friend lied about me having an affair. I met my wife Rona when we were in college together. I made the obviously terrible assumption that the fact she was in post-secondary education meant she had a modicum of common sense. We started dating our senior year and after job hunting settled on moving back to her hometown after graduating. We found an apartment and lived together for 2 years before getting married. All good so far. At our wedding I met an old friend of hers, Anna. She offered to read my palms since she was part gypsy. Weird. I am in construction and I know a few people from that group and they call themselves Roma. Whatever. Anna only comes to town every once in a while. She lives in NYC so she doesn't have time to visit since she has an exciting life there. She makes costumes for plays and cosplayers. So we see her maybe 4 times over the next 2 years. Last time she came was Labor Day last year. And that's when it got weird. All of a sudden Rona starts acting oddly. She starts checking in on me at work. Coming by when I'm working late. Asking to use my phone because hers is almost out of power. That sort of thing. She finally comes out and accuses me of having an affair. I thought she was joking so I laugh and say that I'm not. This sets her off like a Roman candle. Because Anna told her I would laugh it off when Rona came for the truth. I laughed because it was ridiculous. I barely had time for a relationship with my wife and my job. I am home all weekend long. When I go golfing her brother is almost always either in my foursome or at the club. And most important of all, I love my wife. I wouldn't do anything to harm her. And yet she takes the word of Anna the psychic seamstress over mine. She asks me to leave our apartment. I say no because I have nowhere else to go. So she leaves and moves back with her parents. They think she is nuts too. I spent the next few months working and trying to convince her that I'm not cheating and that I want her to come home. I don't get invited to Thanksgiving because it would be awkward. I didn't even stick around for Christmas. I went home to see my family. They have been following all this stupidity without commenting until then. At Christmas they had an intervention. They said my wife was having a break from reality and that she wasn't coming out of it. My dad told me to give my head a shake, which he only does when I am being monumentally stupid. When I got back I went to a lawyer and started my divorce. That was in January. Finally at the beginning of April Rona calls me to talk. I say that we should talk through lawyers. She starts to cry and I agree to meet her in public if she will allow me to record our conversation so I can give a copy to my lawyer. She eventually agreed. Turns out her and her parents hired a private detective to find my affair. 6 months and a huge bill later, zero evidence of an affair. She finally believes me and wants to come home. I tell her that our lease is up in July and I already found a job in Denver near my family. She says she would come with me. I respectfully declined. I told her we just weren't right for each other. The truth is I do not want to have my offspring share DNA with this dingbat. Anyway, I am moving ahead with my divorce. I am gutted that she took her friend's psychic vibrator over mine. Her family has approached me several times. The last time her dad offered to front us a 25% down payment on a house if I agree to go to marriage counseling instead of just leaving. I politely declined. I cannot be bought. Rona is now depressed but I see no way of ever trusting her again. She is young enough she can marry again and wreck some other guy's life. AITA for buying a $50,000 guitar for $4,000 and refusing to sell it back when the buyer found out the real value. This happened a while back. My wife and I still talk about it every once in a while. She's on my side and most of our friends and family are. However, when it happened it was like WW3 between us and her co-workers and others. Here we go. I've been playing the guitar for 22 years. I know guitar values and whatnot very well. I'm very into the guitar market. At my wife's old company she was hanging out with co-workers one day after work and she mentioned that I play guitar. A co-worker who I guess is very popular at work said that his dad passed away and he was selling his dad's things. His dad had a guitar and asked my wife if I'd be interested in it. My wife texted me and I said to have him send me the info on the guitar and the price. The next day he texted me the pics and price. It was a 1952 Telecaster in mint condition. He had the original receipts, which was crazy. That's how I knew the date. I asked what he wanted for it and he said he looked up Telecasters online and he thinks $4,000 is fair. I texted back, I'll take it for $4,000, and went to pick it up. The guitar had no sentimental value to him at all. Here's the issue at hand. The guitar was worth approximately $50,000 depending on the buyer and I knew it. When I got the guitar I told my wife the price and what it was worth. She was floored. Fast forward 2 weeks, her co-worker tells my wife he just found out what the guitar was actually worth from a family friend and wanted it back. She said, well, he really likes the guitar and he knew it was worth $50,000, which is why he was floored. You offered it to him for $4,000. He really likes it and I doubt he will sell it back, but you can ask. Probably not the smartest thing for her to say, but she was caught off guard and it's not her fault or problem. He contacted me and asked to buy it back. I said that it's not for sale. He then said I scammed him and he was going to sue me and take my wife to HR for being a part of the scam. Which was nuts, but he actually did contact HR. They were cool about it and said it's not their problem. It's between him and me. Over the next few months he made things very uncomfortable for my wife at work. He would bug her constantly about it. She eventually had to go to HR for harassment and they actually let him go. She complained twice and he was warned and didn't stop. He's contacted me several times about it, so I got a restraining order for harassment too. I blocked him too. I haven't heard from him in about a year. Update. Well, this post blew up way beyond what I was expecting. It looks like I was voted not the asshole. There's over 5,000 comments. I couldn't read them all, but I did read a lot. Just to clear up some things. I left some things out because I didn't want it to influence opinions and really wanted it to be about me buying a guitar at significantly lower market value versus the people in the story. I did include the fact that the guy was harassing my wife at work, not to make the guy sound bad, but because I thought it was relevant to the story. Here's some specific details I chose not to include. The guy and his dad were not close at all. So those people saying he was grieving and I took advantage of him, that is 100% not the case. When I went to get the guitar, he was telling me he hadn't talked to his dad in 6 years and was actually annoyed he had to deal with a funeral. The dad bought the guitar new and never played it. Luckily it was stored in a closet and not in a basement or attic. There's no issue with the wood or electronics. It plays like a dream and I couldn't be happier. I am not selling the guitar to the son or anyone. It will be with me for a long time. I'm in my 30s, so maybe in 30 years it will find a new home. I would have maybe considered giving the guy more money or giving him one of my guitars to sell on his own, but I decided not to do that after he left a terrible voicemail on my phone the day he found out the real value. He demanded it back like he was entitled to an object he sold fair and square, called me a POS, called my wife a POS and said he would do bad things if I didn't sell him the guitar back. And to those people who say they would have told the guy the real value. That's a load of horseshit. If you went to a garage sale, estate sale and saw an item worth $5,000 priced at $50, there's not a snowball's chance in hell you would walk up to the homeowner and tell them they mispriced it. You'd buy the item and then tell all your friends and family what a great score you got. Don't even kid yourself like you wouldn't do that. I don't feel bad about buying an awesome guitar at a steal of a price. I was curious what others would think and it looks like I'm not the asshole. So thank you, Reddit. I can play the guitar with zero guilt now. Not like I felt guilty before, but now my feelings are justified. AITA for divorcing my wife over getting a massage. My soon-to-be ex-wife and I are both in our late 30s. We've been together 12 years, married for 10. We are in a dead bedroom. It was totally dead for 6 months before I filed for divorce. It was on life support/ICU for 5-6 years before that. We both wanted to be younger parents, and both wanted 2 kids. We conceived our daughter almost immediately after getting married. When she was 6 months old, we started trying to have the second child. It never happened. After 3 years, we started seeing fertility specialists and found out we both have pretty serious reproductive issues. The doctor told us our daughter was nothing short of a miracle, and said it was against all odds that we not only conceived but carried to term. It was after this that the sex life began to seriously decline. Initially, I thought it was just the pain of finding out, and knowing we wouldn't be able to afford the fertility options, and figured it would get better over time. It never did, it only got worse. 5 years ago I would say we had sex 15 to 20 times that year. In 2023 we had sex 3 times. I have tried everything to improve this, spicing things up, talking, suggested counseling. I more than pull my weight around the house. We both work and work basically the same hours. I'm telling this because the usual stuff I read on Reddit about how the wife does it all is not even close to true. Over time I have grown more and more resentful. The thing that makes me the most resentful is she knows I have a high libido and just doesn't care. I on the other hand know she loves to be rubbed on/massaged, and never took that from her. I probably rub on her 325 times a year. Almost every night I will rub her claves, shins, ankles and feet. 4 to 5 nights a month I will go big and do neck, shoulder, back, butt, hamstring, quads, shins, calves, ankles, and feet. I noticed that doing the big massages was the best way to get sex, as she was more likely to allow me to do the foreplay things I know work on her if I'd already done this prep. I did them more often a few years ago, but now not as much. The success rate was never that great, maybe 20% of the time, but in the last 2 years we are definitely in the single digits. When we hit the 4 months of absolutely no sex, I decided I wasn't rubbing on her ever again. It only took 3 days for her to notice and she asked me to. I told her no, and I got angry. I said, "Why should I, when you don't give a fuck about what I want?" Obviously not my finest moment, and huge argument followed. Things got ice cold at home, but I wasn't giving in. I was tired of all of it. A few weeks ago she told me, "Fine, I will just start seeing a professional masseuse." I said, "Then I will start seeing sex workers." She said that was cheating. I said, "Fine, I won't, but you will not get a massage from anyone else, that is also cheating." She said I was being ridiculous, and I said, "No, it's being touched in an intimate way by another. If I can't have that, neither can you. And I swear to fucking God if you do, I will file for divorce that day." The following weekend, she went to get her nails done. I know how long it takes for her to get her nails done. She came back almost an hour and a half later than I expected. She didn't say anything, just acted normal. I got on her credit card app on my phone, and sure enough there was a $95 charge to the goddamn massage person in the same strip mall as the nail place. I lost it, and when I did, so did she. I think we both let out years of frustration on each other. True to my word though, I called a divorce lawyer on Monday. The only part that upset me was my lawyer said based on these circumstances I couldn't list infidelity as the reason for divorce and had to go with irreconcilable differences. Anyway, she has been telling people we are divorcing because she got a massage. Since then I've had a number of family members' friends call me and say I'm an asshole. Some of them, even when I tell them my real reasons, still think I'm an asshole and that my reasons aren't good enough. Personally, I think getting massage when told not to is plenty of reasoning. So am I the asshole here? Personal note, I reread this and I know it comes off angry. But I'm angry. Angry at myself for wasting so many years. But I'm also angry because this was just the ultimate fuck you. She just went and did it anyway and didn't even try to hide it. Literally went to the same place next to the nail salon and used her CC, which I pay. Like I wasn't going to see the charge. AITAH for not taking the fall when my wife farted. Me, 38M, and wife, 36F, were out at a dinner party with a large group of friends. Everything was going well and we were having a great time until my wife farted really loud. I was sitting next to her at the time and pretended nothing happened and quickly started talking in order to change the topic direction of people's thoughts. It was too late though. One of the idiots at the dinner started laughing and of course my wife got very embarrassed. She tried to act dumb and said, "What are you laughing at?" The other guy said to her, "Nothing wrong with letting one go." Edit, he didn't have the intention of comforting her. I promptly told him off and he apologized for the comment. My wife said, "I didn't let anything go. It was Jack, name has been changed, that farted." I kinda froze and hesitated at that moment, and everyone knew it was her after that. If I took the blame they would probably have believed me. It didn't help that the fart smelt really bad. She was different the rest of the night and just wanted to go home after this. After about 2 hours we left. On the way home she expressed her disappointment and anger towards me for not taking the fall for her. She said, "You should have said it was you." In hindsight I probably should have, but it's hard to think quick on your feet when under pressure. I thought I did pretty well by trying to talk about something else. Anyway, she was in tears and extremely embarrassed. She is upset at me for not taking the blame. What do you guys think? I didn't get a job because I was a bully in high school. I've been trying to break into a niche industry, 30-40 jobs in a city with a population of 3 million, for a while now. I'm in my late 20s, and though it took me some time to decide what I wanted to do with my life, I have finished my degree and completed 2 internships. I'm working part-time in a related field and freelancing while searching for a full-time job in the niche industry. I'm willing to move for the right job, but I'd rather stay close to home, so I was stoked last summer when I got an interview for one of the very few entry-level jobs available in my city. I ultimately didn't get it, but the interview went well enough they encouraged me to apply the next time they had an opening. Then an acquaintance who works at the company called me up and asked if I wanted to get coffee. I figured she'd offer me tips on how to do better next time. Instead, she told me to give up on ever being hired there. Turns out, a girl I had gone to high school with is a real rock star at this company, and she threatened to resign when it looked like I was about to be offered a job. I hadn't realized it was her because her married name is different. I'll be honest, I wasn't a very nice person back then, and I probably was pretty awful to this girl. I looked my former classmate up and her resume really is incredible. She graduated from college early and has awards people who've worked in our industry twice as long haven't won. Her public-facing work is top-notch. I'm guessing she's the kind of employee a manager wants to keep around. My acquaintance's prediction appears to be true. I didn't get an interview for a new position at the company that would have been an even better fit than the one I'd interviewed for. When I asked why, I was told a staffer had raised some concerns and the company would not be moving forward with my candidacy. I'm heartbroken. I worked so hard for so long to get the training required for this type of work, and I don't think I deserve to be blacklisted for something I said when I was 17. I have my former classmate's work email. Should I beg for forgiveness? I know you didn't solicit an update, but I felt compelled to send one. I'd written you in the spring because I was having trouble breaking into a niche industry in which a high school classmate I'd bullied was a rock star. I wanted to know if you thought apologizing would help me get a job. At the advice of your readers, I did delete the draft of an apology email I'd had sitting in my inbox for some time. I applied for one more job with Rockstar's company, and when I didn't hear back, I decided it was really and truly time to look elsewhere. I found a shop in a town 7 hours away that was desperate to hire someone for a paid 9-month fellowship that started in June because the candidate they'd originally extended an offer to found a full-time, permanent position. I said goodbye to my boyfriend, packed up my car and 2 cats, and drove to a town I'd never been to. And I hated it. Not the work. I actually loved the work, but the town sucked. Being away from my boyfriend and my family sucked. Not being able to make friends sucked. Everyone else my age was married with 2 kids already. I called my boyfriend every night crying. He was supposed to come visit me over Labor Day but canceled at the last minute because he had to work. Seeing how bummed I was, a coworker offered to swap shifts with me so I could make the trip home for the long weekend. I hopped into my car after work on Friday and drove all evening, arriving at the place I'd been sharing with my boyfriend before I moved a little after 1 a.m. Well, you probably know where this was going. He was cheating on me. I was devastated. I spent the rest of the night sobbing on my sister's couch and drove back to where I was working the next morning. Except I couldn't make myself get out of bed on Tuesday. Or Wednesday. Or Thursday. I was fired after my 3rd no-call, no-show. I tried to get the part-time job I'd had before moving for the fellowship back. They'd said come back anytime, but they'd found someone who was faster and more efficient than I'd been. Unable to afford a place on my own, I had to move back in with my parents. Not sure what else to do, I sent another desperate application to Rockstar's shop. In an effort to cheer me up, my sister and my friends took me out for a nice dinner for my birthday at the end of September. This is where it goes from bad to worse. I drank too much wine at dinner and got pretty weepy. I excused myself from the table to try to put myself together, and ran into Rockstar and her husband celebrating their anniversary on the way to the bathroom. I ended up yelling and crying at her that she'd ruined my life. I was asked to leave and told I wasn't welcome back. That was Saturday night. I spent Sunday hungover in bed, trying to figure out how to clean up the mess I made. On Monday morning, Rockstar's manager, the one hiring for the job I'd applied for, emailed me to let me know I'd been removed from the candidate pool. She advised me that I would not be considered for future positions at their shop. Or any other in the network. That afternoon, without mentioning me or what happened at the restaurant over the weekend, Rockstar tweeted a long thread about how she'd been bullied in high school and she wishes teenagers would realize that high school ends and it does get better. She also tweeted out links to local mental health resources and the National Suicide Hotline that were liked or retweeted many, many times. So just to recap, no job, no boyfriend, no money, no hope of ever breaking into the industry I spent 5 years preparing to enter. It's hard not to feel like some of this is Rockstar's fault, especially given how she rubbed salt in the wound after my whole world had come crashing down.